The warning came through every communication channel in the sector at once. The message was simple and terrifying. A voice like grinding metal spoke three words in the common galactic language: "We are coming." The transmission included images that made experienced soldiers turn pale: destroyed worlds, burned cities, species that no longer existed. And at the center of every image stood the same creatures: massive, six-limbed beasts covered in black scales that seemed to absorb light itself. The axe had entered known space. Sat in his cargo hauler, watching the emergency broadcasts on the station's public screens. He had stopped at Trading Station 7 to refuel and pick up supplies. It was supposed to be a quick stop, 2 days maximum. Now he wondered if he would ever leave. Around him, aliens of dozens of species rushed through the corridors. They carried bags, children, weapons, anything they could grab. The panic was thick in the air. Had never seen anything like it. "Are you not evacuating?" a voice asked behind him. Turned to see a young woman with dark hair pulled back in a practical bun. She wore the gray uniform of the station's research division. Her name tag read, in both human script and galactic standard. "My ship needs repairs," said. "The fuel line cracked on the way in. Won't be ready for another day." Sat down next to him, her eyes on the screens. "You're human," she said. It wasn't a question. "So are you," replied. I study alien life forms. I've been researching here for 3 years." She paused. "I never thought I'd see this happen." On the screen, a warrior was speaking. They were known across the galaxy as fierce fighters. Their had gravity twice that of Earth. They were strong, fast, and nearly fearless. But now, this particular was advising everyone to run. "The Axe have destroyed 17 civilizations," the said, his voice shaking slightly. "No military has ever defeated them. No weapon has ever stopped them. Their leader, the one they call, is the Alpha Beast. He has killed more beings than we can count." "Why is everyone so scared?" asked. "Haven't the galaxy fought wars before?" Shook her head. "Not like this. The Axe don't fight wars, they hunt, they feed. Every species they encounter either becomes their food or their slaves, and they always send first. He comes with a small pack, kills the strongest fighters, and eats them. It breaks the spirit of the defenders. After that, the rest of the Axe fleet arrives and takes everything." Watched as a group of crystalline beings rushed past. They were beautiful creatures, their bodies made of living crystal that refracted light into rainbows. They were also telepathic and incredibly intelligent. But now they were fleeing like everyone else. "How long do we have?" asked. "The station commander says maybe 1 day. Maybe less. Ship is fast." A deep rumbling filled the station. The lights flickered. Through the massive observation windows could see ships launching from the docking bays. Hundreds of them. The evacuation was in full swing. Another broadcast appeared on the screens. This time it wasn't a station officer or a military commander. It was himself. The Alpha Beast filled the screen. He was enormous, easily 3 times the size of a human. His scales were the color of midnight. His eyes glowed like twin suns. He had 6 limbs, 4 he used for walking and 2 that ended in claws like swords. His mouth opened to reveal rows of teeth designed for one thing: tearing flesh. "Beings of this station," spoke in perfect galactic standard. His voice was deep, resonant, and filled with absolute confidence. I am hunger, I am death. You have 1 cycle of your local star to decide. Surrender and become our servants. Flee and we will hunt you across the stars. Fight and we will feast on your bodies." The screen went dark. The panic intensified. Aliens were screaming now, pushing and shoving to reach the docking bays. Saw a small child get knocked down. There were peaceful telepaths who had never developed weapons. Pushed through the crowd and helped the child up, reuniting it with its parent. "Thank you," the said directly into his mind. "May you find safety." Returned to where was waiting. The station commander, unnamed, was trying to organize the evacuation. But it was chaos. Too many people, not enough ships, and not enough time. "This is wrong," said quietly. Looked at him. "What do you mean?" "Everyone's running. No one's fighting. No one's even trying." "What can we do? The Acts are unstoppable. Every species that fought them lost. They had energy weapons that could crack planets. The Acts ate them anyway. They had battle fleets 1,000 ships strong. The Acts tore through them like paper." Stared at the blank screen where his face had been. Something inside him stirred. It was the same feeling he'd had years ago during the border wars on Earth. The feeling of being cornered. The feeling of having nothing left to lose. He walked to the nearest communication terminal. His fingers moved across the controls. Within seconds, he had opened a channel. The same channel had used. "What are you doing?" asked, her eyes wide. Didn't answer. He spoke into the microphone, his voice steady and clear. I am human. You want to hunt. You want to feed. Then come find me, come to this station, face me yourself. I promise you something, Alpha Beast. I promise you won't need a tomb, because when I'm done with you there won't be anything left to bury." Silence fell across the station. Every screen showed his face now. Every speaker carried his voice. Aliens stopped running. They stared at the human who had just challenged the most dangerous predator in the known galaxy. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his face appeared again on every screen. The Alpha Beast was staring directly at through the camera. His eyes burned brighter. His mouth opened in what might have been a smile. "Human," said slowly, tasting the word. "You are brave or foolish. I accept your challenge. I am coming for you. Prepare yourself. I will break your bones. I will drink your blood. I will devour your courage and make it my own." The transmission ended. The station was completely silent. Thousands of aliens stared at. Some looked horrified. Some looked grateful that someone had bought them time. Some looked at him like he was already dead. The station commander pushed through the crowd. "Human, what have you done?" Met his eyes. "I gave us a chance. Wants a hunt. Then let's give him one, but on our terms, on this station, where we know every corridor, every system, every weakness." Touched his arm. "You can't fight him alone, he'll kill you." Looked at her and smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had survived Earth, a planet of ice ages, supervolcanoes, predators, diseases, and endless human conflicts. It was the smile of someone who knew what it meant to be prey and refused to accept it. "Then I guess I'd better not fight him alone," said. The Galactic Council emergency session lasted 6 hours. Representatives from 47 different species argued, debated, and blamed each other. Through it all, they kept returning to one question: what was humanity thinking? Bo, the human diplomatic representative, stood before the council. He was a career diplomat who had spent his entire life building bridges between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. Now he watched those bridges burning. "Ambassador Bo," said the council leader, an ancient whose tentacles twitched with agitation, "your species member has doomed us all, was going to pass through this sector. Now he comes specifically for blood, human blood, and all of ours as well." Bo kept his voice calm. "Council leader, I understand your concern, but perhaps we should consider what has actually done. He has bought time. Ships are evacuating. Civilians are escaping. His challenge has focused attention on a single target." "A suicide is what it is," growled a military commander. "The human will die, then we'll be angry, then we all suffer." "Then help us," Bo said simply. "Send weapons, send soldiers, send anything." The council chamber fell silent. No one spoke. No one volunteered. They all knew the truth. No military force in the galaxy had ever stopped. Back on Trading Station 7, sat in a small planning room with the few humans who had remained behind. There were 6 of them total. Spread her research files across the table. "I've studied every encounter with the acts that we have records of. There are patterns." Wu, a cargo ship engineer with grease permanently staining his hands, leaned forward. What kind of patterns? They always attack the same way. Comes first with a small hunting pack, usually 4 to 6 warriors. They target the strongest defenders, kill them publicly, and feed on them. This breaks the morale of everyone else. Then the main fleet arrives and takes control. Myra, a woman who had been vacationing on the station, tapped the table. She had been a tactical analyst in Earth's unified military before retiring. So they use psychological warfare as much as physical force. Exactly, said. The Axe evolved on a death world just like humans did, but their world was different. It had one apex predator, their ancestors. They became so dominant that nothing could challenge them. They never learned to adapt or improvise. They just overpower everything. Jun, a young cargo handler who reminded of his younger brother, spoke up. What does that mean for us? Studied the station schematics on the wall display. It means they've never fought anyone who fights dirty. Every species they've faced has fought conventionally. Honor duels, fleet battles, defensive positions. They've never faced guerrilla warfare. A medical officer who ran the station's human clinic crossed her arms. You want to set traps? I want to turn this entire station into a trap, said. They're coming here expecting a fight. We'll give them something they've never seen before. Wu grinned. I like it. I can rig the environmental systems, gravity generators, atmosphere controls, airlocks. I can identify structural weak points, Myra added. Places where a controlled collapse would hurt them but give us escape routes. Pulled up biological data. There's something else, something important. The Axe have a dependency cycle. They need to feed on prey to maintain their strength. Not just any food, they need to hunt and kill. It's biological, hasn't fed in weeks according to the intelligence reports. He's coming here for sport and sustenance. So he's hungry, Jun said. That makes him more dangerous. Or more desperate, countered. Hunger makes you sloppy, it makes you take risks. Over the next hours, they planned. Divided the station into zones. Each human took responsibility for different systems and areas. They identified choke points, weak structures, and potential ambush sites. The station commander found them in the planning room. The big warrior looked exhausted. Most of the civilian population had evacuated. Only a few thousand beings remained, mostly those with nowhere to go or those too stubborn to leave. The council has abandoned us, said. No help is coming, but I am staying. My security team is staying. If humans can fight, then so can. Nodded. We'll need your people to evacuate any remaining civilians when the fighting starts. Can you do that? We are warriors, said, his pride evident. Then be warriors who save lives, replied. That's more important than killing Axe. Get people out. That's the mission. Considered this, then nodded slowly. It went against his instincts, but he could see the wisdom in it. Pulled aside while the others continued planning. I need to tell you something about the Axe feeding behavior. It's not just physical. They feed on fear. Their evolution made them psychological predators as much as physical ones. They can sense terror. It makes their prey easier to catch and makes the feeding more effective. So they want us scared, said. They need us scared, corrected. It's part of their biology. Every species they've faced has shown them fear. It's how they've always won. Thought about Earth. He thought about the times humanity had faced extinction, ice ages that should have killed them, supervolcanoes that blocked out the sun, predators that were stronger, faster, better armed, diseases that wiped out millions, and humanity's own tendency to war with itself. Humans know fear, said quietly. We've been afraid for our entire existence, but we learned something that maybe other species didn't. We learned to be afraid and keep fighting anyway. Looked at him. Is that what they call courage? No, said. Courage is not being afraid. We're always afraid. This is something else. This is spite. We're too stubborn to quit even when we should. A new message came through the station's communication system. It was ship. They had entered the sector. Estimated arrival, 18 hours. The humans worked through the night. Wu crawled through maintenance tunnels, reprogramming gravity generators and environmental controls. Myra mapped escape routes and identified structural vulnerabilities. Jun moved supplies and equipment to strategic locations, prepared medical stations and evacuation protocols. Walked the corridors of the station, memorizing every turn, every access panel, every potential advantage. This was his battlefield now. He had chosen it. He had invited here. Now he had to make sure it counted for something. He found in her lab, still researching. She had been awake for over 30 hours. "You should rest," he said. "So should you." They stood there in silence for a moment. "Why did you do it?" asked. "Why did you challenge him?" Thought about his answer. "Because everyone was running, and I understand running. Sometimes it's the smart choice. But I saw that child get knocked down in the panic. I saw all these species who are smarter than us, stronger than us, more advanced than us. And they were all terrified. And I thought, if no one stops running, if no one ever stands up to, then he wins forever." "You could die," said. "Yes." "We could all die." "Yes." "Was it worth it?" Looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was coming the alpha beast, the hunter who had never lost, the predator who had destroyed 17 civilizations. "Ask me after it's over," said. Smiled slightly. "Fair enough." The countdown began. 18 hours, then 17, then 16. The remaining aliens on the station watched the humans work with a mixture of confusion and hope. They had never seen anything like this. A species choosing to fight when they should run. A species setting traps when they should surrender. Word spread through the galactic networks. The human who challenged. The insane cargo hauler who promised the alpha beast a tomb. Some called him a fool. Some called him a hero. Some called him the first casualty of a war that couldn't be won. But on Trading Station 7, in the cold vacuum of space, 6 humans prepared for a hunt. And for the first time in his long existence, he was going to learn what it meant to be the prey. Ship emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the sector. It was massive and black, looking more like a living creature than a vessel. The hull seemed to pulse with dark energy. On the bridge stood among his hunting pack 4 of his finest warriors. "The human awaits," said, his voice a low rumble. "I can already smell his fear from here." But there was something different about this hunt, something that made pause. In all his years, no prey had ever challenged him directly. They always ran or begged or tried to negotiate. Never challenge, never defiance. It intrigued him. On Trading Station 7, the final preparations were complete. Wu emerged from the maintenance tunnels, his uniform soaked with sweat. "All systems are ready. I can control environmental conditions from remote terminals throughout the station. Gravity, atmosphere, temperature, airlocks, all of it." Myra finished her briefing with and his security team. "Remember, your job is civilian evacuation only. When the fighting starts, you get everyone remaining to the escape pods. Don't try to fight the axe. You can't win that way." Didn't like it, but he agreed. He had seen the recordings of axe attacks. Even warriors, the strongest fighters in the galaxy, had fallen to them like children. Jun checked the supply caches one last time. Food, water, medical supplies, and weapons, though it made it clear the weapons were a last resort. "We're not trying to outfight them," had said. "We're trying to outthink them." Prepared the medical bay. She knew casualties were coming. She just hoped there would be someone left to treat. Stood within the central operations room. They watched the screens showing ship approaching. It would dock within the hour. "Last chance to run," said quietly. Checked his equipment one more time. He carried no weapons, just tools, a plasma cutter for his cargo work, a portable terminal, and a breathing mask. I'm exactly where I need to be." The other humans gathered, 6 people against the most dangerous predator in the galaxy. The odds were impossible, but as looked at each of them, he saw something that made him believe. They were scared, absolutely terrified, but they were staying anyway. "Thank you," said simply. "All of you for staying, for fighting, for being human." Wu laughed nervously. "Where else would we go? This is the most interesting cargo run I've ever been on." "Let's make sure we survive to tell people about it," Myra said. Ship docked with a thunderous clang. The entire station shook. Alarms blared across all systems. Through the external cameras, they watched as himself emerged, followed by his 4 warriors. The acts were even more terrifying in person. Each one was massive, armored in scales that looked like they could stop artillery rounds. Their 6 limbs moved with disturbing grace. Their eyes glowed with predatory intelligence. But was different. He was larger, darker, and his presence seemed to drain the light from the air around him. This was the alpha beast. This was the creature that had killed thousands. He sniffed the air and smiled with too many teeth. "I smell humans," announced, his voice echoing through the station's corridors. "6 of them, how delightful. I expected only one. Now I have a feast." The acts split up, moving through the station with practiced efficiency. They had done this hundreds of times before. Hunt, kill, feed, conquer. "Watch from the security cameras. They're separating. Good. Wu, take Team 2 to Sector 7. Myra, Team 3 to Sector 12. Jun, you're with me." The humans moved through the maintenance tunnels, staying ahead of the acts, always watching, always planning. The first warrior entered the industrial sector, a massive area filled with cargo containers, loading equipment and heavy machinery. This axe was called, and he had killed over 100 beings in personal combat. He moved between the containers, searching for the human scent. "Come out, little prey," called. "Make this easier for yourself." Above him, hidden in the maintenance catwalks, Jun waited. His heart was hammering in his chest. He could see the monster below, could see the claws that could tear him apart. But he remembered what it said. "Fear is fine. Panic will kill you. Feel the fear, but don't let it control you." Jun pressed the remote trigger. The gravity generators beneath activated at maximum power. Instantly, gravity in that section increased 50 times normal. Who weighed over 600 kilograms in normal gravity, suddenly weighed 30 tons. The axe warrior crashed to the floor with a sound like a bomb exploding. The metal deck plating crumpled beneath him. He roared in fury and tried to rise, but his own body was crushing him. Jun triggered the second trap. Massive cargo containers, each weighing several tons, dropped from their magnetic clamps. In the supergravity field, they fell like meteors. His roar cut off abruptly. In the operations room, heard his warrior's death. For a moment, he stood perfectly still. Impossible. His warriors were unstoppable. No prey had ever killed one of his pack. "Find them," snarled to the remaining 3 warriors. "Find them and rip them apart." The second warrior, Vex, moved more cautiously now. She entered the residential sector, her senses alert for any trap. She was faster than, more agile. She would not make the same mistake. But Wu wasn't using the same trap twice. Vex noticed the corridor was unusually cold. Ice was forming on the walls. She paused, suspicious. Then the fire suppression systems activated, not with foam or water, but with liquid nitrogen meant for extreme fire situations. The temperature dropped to negative 200 degrees in seconds. Vex's scales, nearly indestructible in normal conditions, became brittle. She tried to move, but the super cold had frozen her joints. Wu sealed the corridor and depressurized it. Vex shattered like glass. 2 warriors down. Felt rage building inside him. Rage and something else. Something he hadn't felt in so long he almost didn't recognize it. Respect. "These humans," he said slowly, "they fight like prey that refuses to die. Interesting." The third warrior was the of the pack. He had survived longer than any other axe warrior because he learned from mistakes. He moved slowly through the commercial sector, checking every corner, every ceiling, every floor panel. He found nothing. The humans had left this area alone. Or so it seemed. Stepped into what appeared to be a shopping plaza. Stores lined both sides, their lights still on, their displays still showing goods. It looked normal, safe. Myra watched from her hidden position. She had spent hours studying previous hunts from the historical records. He was cautious. He was smart. He would suspect obvious traps. So she had made an obvious trap and put it somewhere he would think was safe. Reached the center of the plaza. He sniffed the air, still nothing. Myra pressed the detonator. The structural support she had weakened gave way. The plaza was near the station's outer hull, and those walls had been designed to hold back space itself. When they collapsed inward, they took with them. The warrior had one moment to roar before the vacuum of space silenced him forever. 3 warriors dead, only one remained besides himself. The final warrior was also the most dangerous. He was second in command, nearly as strong as the alpha beast himself. He entered the engineering sector where the station's main reactor hummed with contained power. Was waiting for him there. Jun had wanted to stay, but had sent him to help with the evacuation. This next part was too dangerous. Saw the human standing in the middle of the reactor chamber, small, fragile, unarmed except for a plasma cutter tool. "You are the one who challenged my alpha," said. "You are brave to face me." "I'm not brave," replied. "I'm just out of options." Charged, he was fast, faster than anything that size should be. His claws extended, aiming to disembowel with a single strike. Dove aside, rolling between pipes and equipment. The plasma cutter in his hands wasn't meant for combat, but it cut through the coolant line he had pre-weakened. Superheated coolant sprayed across face. The warrior screamed and staggered back, temporarily blinded. Ran. He led deeper into the engineering section, through corridors he had memorized, past equipment he had sabotaged. Pursued, his rage overcoming his caution. He tore through barriers and smashed equipment, always just seconds behind the human. Reached the reactor control room and sealed the door. Through the reinforced window, he watched approach. The warrior raised his claws to tear through the door. Then he noticed the radiation warning symbols. He noticed the counters clicking frantically. He noticed the glow around him. Had led him through the reactor's maintenance passage. The shielding there had been accidentally damaged, had been bathed in enough radiation to kill most beings instantly. The axe warrior was strong. He survived for almost a full minute before his body shut down. 4 warriors dead. Only remained. And somewhere in the station's corridors, the alpha beast was laughing. Stood in the center of the station, surrounded by the bodies of his hunting pack, 4 of his finest warriors, 4 of the deadliest predators ever to exist, all dead, killed by humans using tools and tricks. The alpha beast threw back his head and roared. The sound echoed through every corridor, every chamber, every corner of Trading Station 7. It was a sound of rage, but also of joy. "Finally," whispered, "after all these centuries, finally prey that fights back." Through the security cameras, the humans watched him. They had regrouped in the operations center. All 6 of them were still alive, though Jun had injured his leg during the evacuation efforts and Wu had minor burns from the coolant system work. "We killed his warriors," Myra said, "but he doesn't look worried." "He's not," replied, studying the biological readings she was getting from the remote scanners. "If anything, he's excited. I think we just made this personal for him." Stared at the screen showing. The alpha beast was massive, easily twice the size of his warriors. His scales were darker, his claws longer, his eyes brighter. This was the creature that had destroyed civilizations. Everyone except me needs to evacuate now, said quietly. No, Wu said immediately. Not happening, Jun added. Myra shook her head. We're not leaving you. Listen to me, said. We've done what we came to do. The civilians are safe. Team got them to the escape pods. The station is empty except for us. There's no reason for all of us to die. There's also no reason for one of us to die alone, said. We're human. We're pack animals. We don't abandon our own. Nodded. Besides, you're going to need medical attention after this. Someone has to patch you up. Looked at each of them. He wanted to argue. He wanted to force them to leave. But he understood. They had made their choice just like he had made his. All right, said. Then we finish this together. Began to move through the station. He wasn't hunting now. He was searching. His senses could track the humans anywhere. He could smell their fear, their sweat, their determination. I know where you are, called out. I can feel your hearts beating. I can taste your courage. It is delicious. The humans split up again, but this time it was different. They weren't setting traps. They were leading somewhere specific, to the reactor core, to the heart of the station. Moved through the corridors alone now. The others were in position, ready to support him remotely. But this final confrontation would be between him and the Alpha Beast. He reached the reactor chamber, a vast open space filled with the humming power that kept the station alive. The walls glowed with contained energy. Warning signs covered every surface. Entered from the opposite side. He saw standing in the center of the chamber, waiting. The brave human, said, his voice rumbling like thunder. You have fought well. You have earned a warrior's death. I'm not a warrior, replied. I'm a cargo hauler. I move boxes for a living. His laugh was like rocks grinding together. Yet you have killed 4 of my finest hunters. You have done what entire civilizations could not do. I cheated, said simply. I used tricks. I set traps. I fought dirty. That's what humans do. We don't fight fair. We fight to survive. And now, asked, moving closer. Each step made the floor shake. What trick do you have for me? No tricks, said. Just a promise. Remember what I told you. You won't need a tomb. I meant that. Struck without warning. His claws swept toward fast enough to blur. Threw himself backward, rolling across the floor. He came up running, sprinting for the reactor controls. Pursued, moving with terrible speed. His claws raked across his back, tearing through his uniform and the flesh beneath. Screamed but kept running. He reached the control panel and slammed his hand on the emergency override. Alarms blared. The reactor began to destabilize. Grabbed and lifted him off the ground. His claws dug into sides. The pain was incredible. Clever, said. You plan to destroy the station, kill us both. But you are wrong about one thing, human. I will survive. I have survived worse. Coughed blood, not worried about the station. Through the pain, managed to smile. I've been exposed to the reactor for hours. Radiation poisoning, terminal. I'm already dead. His eyes widened. Understanding dawned. If you kill me, whispered, if you feed on me, you'll consume the poison, my blood, my flesh. It's all contaminated. Dropped to the floor. The Alpha Beast stepped back, staring at the human who was bleeding out on the deck. You made yourself into a weapon, said slowly. You sacrificed yourself. Not sacrificed, gasped. Calculated the radiation dose, survivable with treatment, but only if you don't eat me. Stood over the dying human. In his entire existence, he had never encountered prey like this. Every species he had hunted had begged, had pleaded, had offered him everything to spare them. But this human had threatened him, had killed his warriors, had poisoned himself, had turned his own body into a trap. It was magnificent. Why? Asked. You cannot win. Even if I do not feed on you, I can still destroy your species. I can still hunt your worlds. His vision was fatting. Blood loss and pain were overwhelming him, but he forced himself to speak. Because someone had to stand up, someone had to show you that prey can bite back. In the operations center was crying as she watched the medical scanners. He's dying. The blood loss is too severe. Can we get to him? Asked, already grabbing medical supplies. Not while he's there, Myra said. The moment we show ourselves, he'll kill us all. On the screen, they watched lean down close to his face. You are the first prey in 10,000 years to make me question the hunt, said quietly. You promised me my tomb. Instead, you have shown me that there are species who refuse to be prey. He turned and walked away from the easy kill, away from the feast. Your species is under my protection now, announced, his voice carrying through the entire station. Any axe who attacks humans will answer to me. This is my law. This is my will. He paused at the door, looking back at one last time. Live human, tell your people what happened here. Tell them that the alpha beast learned respect. Then he was gone. The humans rushed to side, worked frantically, sealing wounds, administering medicine, stabilizing his condition. The radiation exposure was real, but had calculated carefully. He had exposed himself just enough to make his blood toxic to the axe, but not enough to be immediately fatal. You insane, beautiful idiot, sobbed as she helped. You actually did it. Did what? Managed to whisper. You made the alpha beast back down, Wu said, his voice filled with awe. Through the external cameras, they watched ship undock. The massive vessel turned and accelerated away from the station. The hunt was over. News spread across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. The impossible had happened, had retreated, not defeated in battle but convinced to leave. And he had done more than leave. He had declared humanity under his protection. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Species that had fled for centuries now had to reconsider everything they knew. Humanity, the species in known space, had accomplished what no one else could. Bo, the human ambassador, found himself suddenly the most important person in the galaxy. Everyone wanted to know, how did the humans do it? But Bo knew the truth. They hadn't done it through superior technology or military might. They had done it through something uniquely human, the stubborn refusal to give up even when giving up was the smart choice. On Trading Station 7, drifted in and out of consciousness. The medical team from arriving rescue ships worked around the clock to save his life. The radiation treatment was brutal. The surgery to repair his wounds took hours. But he survived. When finally woke up, 3 days later, he found his 5 companions sitting around his medical bed. They looked exhausted. They looked relieved. They looked proud. Did we win? Asked weakly. Took his hand. You're alive, we're alive. Left. And humanity just became the only species in the galaxy that the axe won't touch. So, yes. They all laughed. It was the laugh of people who had survived the impossible. Outside, the stars shined bright, and somewhere in those stars hunted still. But now he hunted with a new understanding. There were some prey who became predators when cornered, and those prey deserved respect. 2 months had passed since the confrontation. Trading Station 7 was being rebuilt. The damaged sections had been repaired. New businesses were opening. Life was returning to normal, though nothing would ever be quite the same. Walked through the corridors without the medical assistance equipment now. The radiation treatment had been successful. His wounds had healed, though he would carry the scars forever. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. Thought luck had nothing to do with it. He had 6 friends who refused to let him die. The galaxy had changed. News of what happened at Trading Station 7 had spread to every inhabited world. The story had been told and retold 1,000 different ways. Some versions made out to be a hero. Some made him out to be a fool who got lucky. Some claimed he had used secret human superweapons. The truth was simpler and stranger than any of the stories. Bo arrived at the station for an official visit. The human diplomat looked older now, worn down by the endless meetings and negotiations that had followed the incident. But he was smiling as he greeted in the station's newly rebuilt observation deck. "You've become quite famous," Bo said, shaking his hand. "There are songs about you on 17 different worlds. The wrote an opera. The made a telepathic experience that lets you feel what you felt during the confrontation. It's very popular, though most beings can only handle it for a few minutes before the fear becomes too intense." Looked uncomfortable. "I'm not a hero, I just did what needed to be done." "That's exactly what makes you a hero," Bo replied. "You did what needed to be done when no one else would." They stood by the observation window, looking out at the stars. Ships came and went from the station's docking bays, more ships than before. Trading Station 7 had become a symbol, a place where the impossible had happened. "The Council wants to meet you," Bo said. "They want to understand how humanity thinks, how we fight, how we survive." "What did you tell them?" asked. "I told them the truth, that humans are scared all the time, that our planet tried to kill us in 1,000 different ways, so we learned to be creative in our survival, that we don't have the strength of or the intelligence of or the technology of all we have is our refusal to quit." Smiled slightly. "That's a good speech." "It's not a speech, it's the truth, and it's changing how the galaxy sees us." In the station's main plaza, the other 5 humans had gathered, had been offered positions at a dozen research institutions, but she had chosen to stay at Trading Station 7. Her work on axe biology was now considered essential reading across the galaxy. Wu had become something of a legend among engineers. His creative use of the station's systems had been studied and analyzed. Universities wanted to know how a simple cargo ship engineer had outsmarted warriors who had conquered civilizations. Myra had been recalled to Earth's military as an advisor. She spent her time teaching tactical officers about asymmetric warfare and psychological tactics, but she visited the station often. She said it felt like home now. Jun had been promoted to station operations supervisor. The young cargo handler who had been terrified during the fight was now training new security teams in unconventional defense strategies. Ran the medical center now, expanded to serve not just humans but any species that needed care. She had become an expert in treating injuries from conflict with the axe, knowledge she hoped would never be needed again, but was prepared to share if it was. They gathered for dinner, as they did every week, a tradition they had started after the fight, a reminder that they had survived together. "Did you hear about?" Jun asked as they ate. Everyone looked at him. "He attacked a pirate fleet in the Outer Rim," Jun continued. 300 ships. They were terrorizing civilian transports, showed up and destroyed them all. Then he sent a message to the Galactic Council. He said any pirate who attacks innocent beings will face him personally. Laughed, the Alpha Beast became a protector. "Maybe we changed him," Wu suggested. "Maybe showing him that prey can fight back made him see things differently." "Or maybe he just likes a challenge now," Myra said. "Pirates are more interesting prey than helpless civilians." Thought about often. He wondered what the Alpha Beast was thinking. Did he regret walking away? Did he still want to feed on human courage? Or had something fundamental changed in that moment in the reactor chamber? A message arrived on his personal communicator. It was flagged as high priority, encoded in the Axe language. The station's translator struggled with it for a moment, then displayed the text. "Human, you promised me my tomb. You kept your promise in a way I did not expect. You showed me that I could die not by claw or weapon but by my own nature. This is wisdom I did not possess before. The Axe will remember Trading Station 7. We will remember the humans who refused to run. Hunt well, prey who became predator." Stared at the message, then he showed it to the others. "He called you prey who became predator," said softly. "That's a title of respect in Axe culture. It's usually only given to other Axe who have proven themselves in combat." So we earned his respect by almost dying, Jun asked. We earned his respect by refusing to die, corrected. The conversation continued, but his mind wandered. He thought about Earth, far away in a distant part of the galaxy. He thought about all the humans living their lives, unaware that they had become known across the stars as the species that made back down. What would they think? Would they be proud, scared, both? Later that night, returned to his cargo hauler. The ship had been repaired and upgraded. The cracked fuel line that had stranded him here was long fixed. He could leave any time he wanted. But he hadn't left. Trading Station 7 felt like home now. Found him in the cargo bay, checking his supplies out of habit. "Are you going to stay?" she asked. Considered the question. "I don't know. Part of me wants to get back to normal life, hauling cargo, visiting different stations, being nobody special." "You'll never be nobody special again," said. "Everyone knows your name now." "That's what worries me." They stood in comfortable silence for a while. "What happened here changed things," said. "Not just for us, for the whole galaxy. Species that were enemies are talking now. The Council is forming new alliances. Even they are reconsidering their combat doctrines, all because 6 humans refused to run." 7 said. "Stayed too. He and his team saved hundreds of lives during the evacuation." 7 then agreed. 7 people changed the galaxy. "We just survived," said. "That's all. We did what humans always do. We survived." "Maybe that's enough," replied. Across the galaxy in his massive ship stood before his new hunting pack. The Alpha Beast had recruited fresh warriors to replace those who had fallen. They were younger, eager, hungry for the hunt. "I am going to teach you something new," told them. "Something I learned from prey that refused to die. I will teach you respect. I will teach you to recognize when prey has earned the right to live. Not all hunts end in feeding. Some hunts end in understanding." The young warriors looked confused, but they would learn, would make sure of it. On Earth, billions of humans watched the news broadcasts about and the confrontation at Trading Station 7. Some were inspired. Some were frightened. Some didn't believe it really happened. But in military academies, in research institutions, in schools and universities, humans began to study what had happened. They analyzed the tactics. They discussed the psychology. They debated the implications. Humanity had been seen as weak, as the least impressive species in the galactic community. Now they were seen as something else, dangerous, unpredictable, survivors. Some species viewed this with suspicion, others with curiosity, but all of them viewed humanity with respect. Back on Trading Station 7, life continued. Ships docked and departed. Traders made deals. Families lived their lives. The station had become a symbol, but it was also just a place where beings tried to make a living among the stars. Finally made his decision. He would stay for a while longer, not because he was famous, not because he was a hero, but because he had found something here that he hadn't known he was looking for. He had found a pack, a tribe, a family. The 6 humans who had faced the Alpha Beast together stayed close. They met for dinner. They helped each other with work. They remembered what they had survived and knew they could survive anything else the galaxy threw at them. One evening, as they all sat in cargo hauler sharing drinks, Wu raised his glass. "To Trading Station 7, he said. "To surviving," Jun added. "To making the impossible possible," Myra said. "To never giving up," continued. "To being human," finished. Raised his glass with them. "To all of us, we're human, we survive, and that's enough." They drank together, and outside the cargo bay windows, the stars shined bright. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, and filled with creatures far more powerful than humanity. But humanity had proven something important. Power wasn't everything. Sometimes stubbornness, creativity, and the refusal to quit were enough. Sometimes prey could become predators. And sometimes, just sometimes, that was enough to change everything. In the depths of space, hunted, but now he hunted with wisdom. Now he hunted with respect. Now he remembered the human who had promised him a tomb and instead given him understanding. The legend of Trading Station 7 spread across the centuries that followed. It became more than a story. It became a symbol. When other species faced impossible odds, they remembered the humans who had refused to run. They remembered Wu, Myra, Jun, and they remembered that survival was the first step toward victory. And in every human heart, from Earth to the farthest colony, burned the same stubborn spark. The spark that had carried humanity through ice ages and catastrophes. The spark that had made them build civilizations on a death world. The spark that had made one cargo hauler stand before the Alpha Beast and promise him a tomb. The spark of humanity's refusal to quit. It was enough. It would always be enough.